Hello and welcome everyone for this session on the Human Variations web-based eAF together with the PMS and product UI. So this is a presentation on these two aspects available in the PLM, the Product Lifecycle Management portal. So this is a session that was initially scheduled for June, and we cancelled it due to a delay in the provision of the NAPs in the eAF. So we wanted to give this update. As you know, we haven't yet announced the availability of the nationally authorized products in the portal, but we felt this is a good time to give you an update where we are at the moment. So here's the agenda for today. So we will give you a status update, and then we'll also give you further information with regards to the product data management user interface and the PMS API implementation. We'll also give you a quick demo on the new features that we have just released and we are developing for the PLM Portal eAF, and then we will have some time for Q&A session. And you are really encouraged to ask all type of questions. So the Slido is open. You can already start typing your questions there, and my colleague Christina will give you more information how to interact with this tool. So, Christina.
Thank you, Christina. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining. Please note that this session is being recorded. We will make it available through the EMA corporate website, the event page, and the YouTube channel, and same for the slides that will be presented today. So as anticipated by Christina, at certain points throughout the session, you will be able also to ask different questions. Of course, you can decide to do it in an anonymous way or by stating your full name. And these are the instructions. So you can join at slido.com by using this code, so eIF PMS QA, or you can simply scan the QR code through your mobile phone and you will be directed to the Q&A room. Please note that you can also decide to upvote questions from other participants, so we will take them first. And they will be managed live on the screen during the Q&A session, so we will start from the most voted ones. So feel free to start sending your questions since the beginning of the session, and then we will look together at the end. Thank you all.
Thank you. So let's dive straight into it. So I'm going to give you a quick update on the NAPS release and the next steps, and then I will hand over to my colleague Markus, who will give you an update from the side of the PMS from the product management system. So just to remind you all, and also especially for those of you who may be a little bit new with the electronic application form, this new upgraded version into the PLM version, PLM portal. So we're working on a web replacement of the interactive PDF electronic application forms, the eAFs. So the name is the same. It'll be still an eAF, even though it's a web-based system. And we're slowly working our way to deliver you forms for both human and veterinary medicinal products. And of course, we have now started with the variation forms, but the aim is really to enable user-friendly capture and handling of the data for marketing authorization, variation, and renewals applications. And this new data or this new form will bring benefits for both for applicants and regulators. And one of the really important points with why we're doing this change is to ensure consistency across IT systems and, of course, make sure that we have high quality ISO IDMP compliant data available that we can use and reuse through these systems. So you're already selecting a product from PMS when you start filling in an application form in the PLM portal. You will update the product data, which is then pushed it back into PMS. And when you come for your next regulatory procedure, you will find this updated data available in the system. So this is the whole aim why we're moving into this new, more user-friendly system. And here is the PMS vision. So Marcos, maybe you'd like to introduce that.
So as you may already know, the vision that we have for PMS is also here. So what we want to do is to make available for human and machine interaction the structured, standardized, and consistent authorized product data from across the European Medicines Regulatory Network. So what we are saying here is that we want to make available through a product UI and also through the PMS API, so there can be an interaction machine to machine. We want to make this product data that is going to be a structure, a standardized, and IDMP compliant available to the regulatory network. Obviously, PMS is going to be used by a lot of people, so not only regulators, but also by the industry, because they will be able to use this in regulatory and non-regulatory procedures, as well as for the general benefit of the European citizens. So European Commission, for example, will have also access to the data that we will hold in PMS, but any other institution from the regulatory network, citizens, patients, doctors, etc. The idea is that they can also have access to the data that we will be hosting in PMS. And I think with that, we can continue with the next slide. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Marcos. So I will now briefly present our Human Variations eAF next key steps and milestones. So as you might notice, we're not really calling it a timeline anymore, but this is a kind of our target time frame of the main things that we are now delivering to you. So just as a reminder, almost exactly to the day last year, we went live with the Human Variation eAF supporting CAPS only. So we've had this great period of time on working with the forms, familiarizing ourselves with the forms and how they work, but also delivering a lot of new features and functionalities that will make the form more robust and, of course, easier to use, but also moving towards a transitional period. So we are still implementing features that will allow us to then have that final UAT before we start mandatory use. Now, our next big step is to load and test PMS data in our EMA systems so that we can ensure that we have good quality data for nationally authorized products, but also updated centrally authorized products where we are getting data also from XEVMPD. Currently, the CAP products that we have available in the PLM Portal eAF are coming from SciMed, from EMA's internal product database. So we are anticipating that there will be an updated then release these products in the eAF in the Q1 next year. So this would mean that we would have first all the split caps, and when we say split caps, as I mentioned, these are the caps from SciMed that are currently not following the ISO IDMP structure. So we are doing another step to merge these caps with data from XEVMPD, and we're also making them ISO IDMP compliant by doing this match and merge protocol. But Marcus will explain that further in some moments' time. And then we're indeed making all nationally authorized products available in the electronic application forms. And of course, throughout all of this time, we are doing incremental release of functionalities that are required for mandatory use of those forms. And just to start with this slide, so we have some key enablers, what we need to do first before we can release the split caps and the nationally authorized products in the eAF. So of course we need to do some bug fixing across PMS and Iris for the products. We need to release all of these products from PMS to the Iris UAT environment. And then, of course, there needs to be a successful execution of internal UATs to confirm the bug fixing across PMS and Iris products. And this all needs to happen before we can start the ongoing work on the releasing these products in the eAF. But of course, we are also in parallel working with the eAF features. So for example, we're currently working on feature called name translations, which will be implemented before we release NAPs into the PLM Portal eAF. And we will also be releasing further features pertaining to the use of the nationally authorized products in the PLM Portal eAF. So similar to our approach when we went live a year ago with the CAPs, the use of the forms was limited. We knew we had some limitations and the form cannot be used for all scenarios. We may have similar scenarios when we release the nationally authorized products in the eAF. However, they will still be valuable experience to familiarize yourselves with the forms, but also a time where we can gather any usability issues, any bugs, and we can then fix them before we start moving closer of the mandatory use. But already today we know that, for example, when the nationally authorized products will be released, unfortunately, the homeopathic products will not be available immediately. So for that scenario, you will need to continue using the interactive PDF forms for some time. There may be some other things which we will, of course, detail and list when we go live with the nationally authorized products in the PLM Portal eAF. Move to the next slide and hand over to Marcus.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. So what we wanted to give you here is a bit of an update of what we are doing with the initial load of data from XCVMPD into PMS. As you already know, PMS is already working on this initial load of data. When we started working on this feature, we knew that it was going to be a bit complex, but working together with the SMEs and with the network, we have implemented a lot of the user stories that we had to implement in order to have the correct data in PMS based on the data that we have in XCVMPD. Nevertheless, we still have a couple of bugs that we need to work on in order to be able to release this into production. So as you can see here, we have written down a couple of bugs that we are still working on in order to be able to load the data from XCVMPD into PMS. So you can see that, for example, we are still having a couple of problems with the management of the pharmaceutical products. This is mainly not in the generation of the pharmaceutical products during the initial load, but with the deltas, whenever we have any update on XCVMPD, we are still having some issues on the pharmaceutical products, and this is something that we need to work before we are able to go into production. During the last system demo, not the one in September, but the one before summer, we also identified an issue with the transfer of caps that are coming from XCVMPD. So we had to implement a new user story to be able to manage correctly the transfer of caps in XCVMPD. So this is also something that we are working on and that we need to test before we can go into production. Moreover, we are having still a couple of bugs related to the match and merge of centrally authorized products where we have data quality issues in XCVMPD. So we want to be able to release this data correctly. The fact that we are able to make a match and merge from the data in SIAMED and the data in XCVMPD, it should be correct. So we are trying to fix these issues as well. As you can see here, the PMS team is really working to solve those issues, to be able to test them before we are able to deploy all these user stories and all this deployment into production. Not only we are working on the implementation of the initial load from XCVMPD to PMS, but we are also collaborating, for example, with the OMS team to be able to have what we call the XCVMPD to OMS deltas, to be able to map the organizations when they are created in XCVMPD. This way, whenever a new organization is created in XCVMPD, we will be able to identify and create the mapping within OMS. So the products that will be created under this organization will be correctly mapped in PMS. We are also working with the RMS team to create and map all the different terms. So once we do the initial load of data from XCVMPD, we will have these one-to-one mappings already created. So there shouldn't be any problem when we do the initial load and we have to use the terms from RMS. If we go to the next slide, and Christine already mentioned the split of caps, this is also something that is going to be released together with the NAP load. So we have already spoken about that in different webinars. There is also, as you can see here, additional information about the split caps in Chapter 7 of the EUIG. Just for you to know, there will be a major update of this version that is going to be released in December this year, where we have included additional scenarios of the initial migration from XCVMPD to PMS. We have provided examples for all the use cases because we think this is also very useful for the marketing authorization holders and all the users that need to understand how the initial migration from XCVMPD and SciAMed is happening. If we focus on the split caps, and this is again just to give you a summary of what is going to happen, some of the products that we already have in PMS that are coming from SciAMed, for the moment, we only have one medicinal product, as you can see in the first table, with one PMS ID, one product name, and all the different presentations that you have under this medicinal product. Nevertheless, and as it is stated in Chapter 2 of the EUIG, the name of the medicinal product is one of the defining elements to generate a medicinal product in PMS. So some of the medicinal products, depending on the presentation, might have different names. So for example, in the second table, you can see that this RNS 20 milligrams can have different names if we have a solution for injection in pre-filled pen or in pre-filled syringe. So what we will be doing with this split of caps is we will split the cap that is already in PMS and that you can see through the eAF portal, and we will generate two different medicinal products, and we will allocate the respective presentations of each of those medicinal products underneath the correct product. So this is something that you can expect to happen before the NAP release or together with the NAP's release. You can find additional information on this chapter. Before we do this release of NAP data and also the split of caps, we will host a webinar. We will provide additional information. We will provide examples. We will provide what can happen if something is wrong, how you contact EMA to get it solved. We will provide all the information that you need in relation to the split of caps as well as the NAP release. But this is, again, a summary of what you can expect when this feature is coming into production. I think I have another slide. Yes. So the previous slide was related to the split of caps, but then here's also a reminder of what can happen when we do the NAP release into production. The first question that you always have is when will these NAPs are going to be available on the PLM portal? So as we have already said, we are working to solve all the bugs and the issues that we still have in the UAT environment to be able to go into production. Once we are ready to go into production, obviously we will announce that in a fixed date we will start doing the load, but you can expect that due to the amount of records that we will have in XCMPD, this initial load or this initial migration will take a couple of weeks. So please bear with us. We will announce when this is going to happen, and we will be giving you updates on the status of the initial migration. But as you can see here, and it's stated here, it will take a few weeks to conclude the full migration from XCMPD. Now, what happened if we have announced that the initial migration has been completed, that all the NAPs are now in PMS and therefore can be accessible through the PLM portal? What happens if you go into the PLM portal and you are not able to see some of your products? First of all, you need to make sure that in XCMPD, your product is not nullified and also has the following attributes. So there is information on the authorized pharmaceutical dose form. There is also data on the legal basis on the medicinal product type, and it has not one of the following authorization statuses. So it shouldn't have a non-valid superseded by marketing authorization transfer or not valid superseded by marketing authorization renewal or variation. That is because we are not migrating these records. There is a whole explanation about that again in chapter 7 on the initial migration, why we are not migrating those products. It's just to keep the life cycle of the product. But it's also important that on the other fields that I have said before, you have data, because we are not migrating products where you have missing data on those fields. So that is important. And then the last step is to check that the MA holder that you have assigned in XCMPD for this record is the same MA holder you are logged in to the PLM portal. Because if you have not logged with the same user, then it's obviously that you won't have access to this product. Then, if you have checked all this information, everything is correct, and still you don't have access to, you cannot see those products, then please, you will be able to raise a ticket in service desk. You would need to provide all the information that you can have, like the EV code, for example, which is your user, and all the information available, so we can check why this product is not accessible. But again, this you will be able to do this once we have announced that the complete initial migration has been performed from XCMPD into PMS. Until this is not completed, obviously, you might not be able to see all your products because we will be loading them by chunks. So that's why you need to wait. And yeah, I think that's all from my side, Christina. So back to you.
Yes. Lovely. Thank you, Marcos. So then just as quick next step summary. So as mentioned here before we can release the NAPs, we will be giving you an update on the development progress. So as explained by Marcos, there's still quite a few things that we need to do. We will have a what we call a PI planning session in December, and after that PI planning, which is on the week of the 12th of December, we will be giving you an update on how our bug fixing and development has progressed. And of course, there will also be on the following week a public system demo where we will be giving you further information and showing you what we have developed and done up until that point. So this is happening prior to the NAPS release. And then, of course, after to the NAPS release, and obviously even before then, there will be a further release of features and functionalities that are required for mandatory use. And here I want to really emphasize, so this period after the NAPS release, there will be at this point an undefined time. I'm not able to at this point state yet, of course, because it's prior to the NAPS release. So once these NAPS are in the system and we gain experience of using the system, realizing if there are further things that we didn't realize that weren't working or haven't been developed, or if there are a lot of user feedback, for example, obtained, we will have fixes features and releases coming up to your way. And only after we have delivered everything that we feel that we are now ready for the mandatory use, we will then announce a user acceptance testing. And then there will be this UAT that will take place, which will run for about 2 weeks. And after the UAT, once we have analyzed all the feedback gathered during that UAT, we will confirm when the transitional period will start. And at the moment, we are foreseeing the transitional period to run for 6 months. This may be extended if we feel that 6 months is too short. And then at the end of the transitional period, we will move to start the mandatory use of the human variations form for all centrally and non-centrally authorized products. So these are the next steps that we will be taking. But as explained by Marcos, we have really a tight dependency on the NAPS release to the PMS system. And I will now hand over to my colleague Veronica, who will present you more on the product data management UI and the PMS API implementation. Thank you, Veronica. I'll stop sharing here.
Many thanks, Christina. Colleagues, just give me 1 second to share my presentation. And I hope you can see that correctly. So, colleagues, hello everyone. My name is Veronica, as you may already know. I'm PMS product owner. I would like here today to share with you an update of what we as a PMS and eAF team have been doing so far in the context of the development of the product UI interface. As you may know, the product user interface is something that users, external users, but also internal to the agency will have access to. And for that, the main scope will be for them to read specifically information on products data originated from the data load that we are currently performing. Marcos and Christina previously mentioned. So the portal, the endpoint for you as external users is really to see the data that we have migrated and some of the data that will, of course, have to be fulfilled. So far, over these months, we started in January, and I am happy to announce that we are close to the end. We have been developing the user interface by aligning to the data model of PMS that we have agreed in the past with the new data elements that we have included also. But this is not only related to PMS per se, is also a user interface that you can see and can access in order to extrapolate data and to complete the data for the scope of the eAF fulfillment as well. So that's why it's really important, and that's why PMS and eAF team have been working very closely over these months together. We have been, as you can see, we have been creating the main pages. This is the view page only, with the implementation as well of the access and security management system, meaning that based on the user role that the industry or NCA or any authority would like to connect, they can have access to specific set of data. Some data will be confidentially classified, and some other will be public access. As you can see, we have been working on the manufacturer. We have completed over this summer the view page, including the medical devices. We have improved some of the relationships. You can see medical products contains manufactured items, medical devices, and also ingredient manufacturers, but also at the packaged medicinal products, we have reported the manufacturer's informations and also further clarified some connection that you will see reflected in the next release of the UAG Chapter 2 in PMS. Another aspect that we have been focusing so far is the development of the edit page. The difference between the edit page and the view page, as you can clearly understand from the terminology used, is to allow the user to make changes into the product user interface to their specific product's data. The edit pages will be the basis for making amendments, correction, and updates, also in connection with the electronic application form. However, the PMS team, one of the goals for us we started already this quarter, but of course it will take more time, is to complete and to focus on the process discussions, so that the edit page can be entirely fulfilled. You can see here we have included, for example, few information like add a supply term or promotion term or add the name. These are merely functionalities that will enable you to update your information in the context of an electronic application form. And this is very important for all of you because it's not limited to the PMS interface, but is a common interface shared also with electronic application form. And that's why you will see that accessible in the PLM portal, because it's a common database share. So what we aim so far, of course, we have delivered the product UI, we have been designing it. Now we are in a phase that we want to test it. So the pure test will be launched actually in the next week, and we'll have three main goals for us. The first of all is to confirm that whatever has been designed is user-friendly, so we can get the feedback from our SMEs on the readability of the system, on the way they can change from one page to another, and they can see the various elements connected between each other. So we would like to receive feedback on the layout. Maybe there is something that we need to improve that is not really user-friendly, that we have included all the correct sections and subsections. But also we want to make sure that the read pages can be really accessible, so there is no technical issue in the role that has been assigned and the level of information that they can access. In the product user interface, we have, as I was saying, we have implemented the security and access principles, but we have also implemented the privileges that, for instance, users, in particular industry users, can benefit. We have implemented two specific roles, one that can give access to a limited set of information because of potentially commercially sensitive information like manufacturer data that might not want to be visible to any of the colleagues in the company, but also the full access to the product information. So we are really aiming to test all of these goals to make sure that we have implemented correctly. The participants that we are involving are our PMS industry network SMEs, denominated, we have a total of 4 industry SMEs and 4 network SMEs, but also our network product owner will be participating and providing us feedback. The timelines that we foresee are the following on this box on the right side. We foresee three rounds of UAT. The first one will be launched on the next week on Monday 13th, will end on the 24th of November. Then we will take a week to make sure that we triage correctly the information and all the we can prioritize the feedback that we have received, make the priorities, but also making sure that they are clarified across our SMEs. Then we will launch a second round, which is going to be run from the 4th to the 15th of December. And of course, there will be some annual leaves because of Christmas period. So most of the colleagues might be on holiday. So we took into account that the third round for this purpose will be launched by mid-January to the 26th of January. One more point for you to be aware is that between the 15th of December and the 15th of January, we will have also our technical team to closely work with us and implementing any bugs that might have been fixed in parallel. Now, what we aim to deliver by Q1 next year, we are working to preparing the user manual for access to explain how to access, how to handle the information in product UI, but also how to read based on the different pages. We are also aiming to deliver the PMS access policy, which will define more we clarify based on each different user role the level of accessibility. We aim to complete the edit page. This is an internal deliverable, but of course we think is a good information to share with you to give you understanding on what is left. Then we want to complete the alpha UAT, and the completion of the alpha UAT will be the basis for launching the beta UAT, which will be another external test that we will be launching to a broader forum of experts and make sure that we can gather feedback also from the public. If you want more information, colleagues, I will strongly recommend you to click on the link of the system demo, because at the end of September we gave more information on the progresses that we have been made so far. Another element that we are working on is also the PMS API, the Application Programming Interface. This is a tool that can enable the users to read information by machine-to-machine connection. Of course, if you have many products, the first tool that you would like to use, it will be the API rather than user interface. But our goal is to try to deliver both of them at the same time. So for this reason, we are working in parallel to this solution, to implement this solution. Into the API, we have also implemented the security and access management. So the roles are also available. And for that, we are also launching at the same time of the previous UAT on product UI, a similar test to confirm basically the content, the correct implementation of the access and security. And for that, we have engaged also with our PMS industry network product owners. So both of them will be involved in confirming that they can access it. And the timelines that we are foreseeing for this type of UAT are the following in this box on the right side. The first round will start again the next Monday. And then we plan not 3 rounds, but 2 rounds, because of course the scope of this UAT is limited compared to the previous one that I mentioned. And the second round, we still need to define the dates, because it will be based mostly on the amount and the volume of feedback and technical issues that we might need to address. So we need to reserve some capacity from our technical team to allow them to implement it, and then allow again our participant to retest and confirm that this has been correctly implemented and there is no issue. Additional deliveries on PMS. It's very important for us to clarify that what we did so far is to align the PMS data model. We align not only at the level of PMS, but also at the level of the product UI. We did an intensive and significant exercise with our colleagues from Electronic Application Form team to make sure that any elements was correctly aligned also with their application form, and with whatever was missing was also considered as extra information. We also been working at different initial loads. You know, data are coming from XCV-NPD and from SciMed, but we focused for that over the summer to test specifically how the deltas to XCV-NPD to PMS and the match and merge protocols between XCV-NPD CAP products and SciMed CAP products act. And for that, we have identified indeed some bugs, and we are working with our technical team to implement it and retest it. So far, we've been focusing on testing and launching data loads. What we aim to deliver by this December, so the end of the year, for us is mostly to update the UAG, so there will be a new release of the EU implementation guide for PMS, mostly focusing on the new version of Chapter 2. For this chapter, I can anticipate to all of you that there won't be major changes in terms of data model. The data model is stable, so you can take already the previous version that is already available in the EMA web page and consider it a stable version. What we will do so far, we will update the fire paths and few business rules that we have identified as a change to be released. UAG Chapter 7 will contain all migration rules that have been further refined upon completion and initial loss that I mentioned before, upon identification of bugs. And for that, we have also created a new chapter. This is Chapter 9, which will describe specifically how the XCVMPD Delta to PMS will work and what kind of suggestion and recommendation we foresee for users, for industry users. So I will strongly encourage all of you to read this chapter. And in addition to that, the PMS access policy, which that I mentioned before, it will be mostly focusing on explaining who can access which kind of data, the privileges that each user role can have. And it's similar. This document will be very close to the chapter 5, which is not yet available. Also, we aim to deliver the completion of the alpha UAT. So for us, this is very important to state today and to make you all aware. I have finished my presentation, colleagues. I will now hand over to my colleague Noel Diamond, the electronic application for network product owner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Good afternoon from my side as well. I'm Noel. I have the pleasure of presenting, well, just rounding this up by presenting just a little bit of the developments that are currently ongoing and the features that we have built in the past. Now, quite a lot of effort at the moment is going into performance testing, making sure the amount of users that we are expecting are actually handled. But nevertheless, we are still finding some time to do features that are, for one, necessary for the NUP release, but also that users like you requested when we presented, like in system demos. We got this request that was there quite a lot and quite often to be able to clone or copy existing applications to reduce the administrative burden for applicants. Now I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me for a moment. And I'm zooming in a little bit, so I hope everybody can see this well. If you are interested in more details, WebEx has this little zoom in button as well, but I do hope this is quite clear. Now, in the past, in the last months, we have started developing a little framework behind the PLM portal that is capable of copying things. Now, copying was requested on so many levels that we did a bit of a generic function. And the first test we did is by copying something small. And this something small we then brought to production, which is the scope. So there, I'm going to choose here in the production system. For me, for NCA guy, I don't have any products, but what I can show you is in the types of changes, I would usually manually enter a scope and choose one of these. Now, I'm just going to choose a random one here. But if you want to have not this scope, not just once, if there are many changes for this specific product, and they're all the same scope. What you do is you fill this A4 type 1B scope in once, you tick your conditions, your documentations, maybe you enter some notes where documentations are not fulfilled. And what you do then is you look at your scope and you say, all right, the 1B one, what I want here is to clone this one. And this is the option that we made available here. And this is using this framework in the background where it selects, all right, we are now within the scopes of the types of changes, and we are cloning this specific one. Very simple function, hopefully usable. You can see you have now 2 selected scopes, and we give those a little ID at the end so that you can see, all right, this A4 type 1B scope is number 1 and this one is number 2. So when I export this to the PDF and I want to, for example, say this text belongs to 1 and 2, I can do this, or I can just put my present and proposed changes to both of them. Now, I can go ahead and do this as often as I want. Yeah, the goal is just to have the same scope over and over. Now, as I mentioned, yes, it could probably be a tiny bit faster. It's already okay, but we are still working on performance improvements, and this is one of our main goals. So please bear with us on this end. Now, you'll probably think, well, just the scopes is, I want more. So wanting more was a big requirement and one that we are currently trying to fulfill. And if I switch to my test system here, so unfortunately, this is not yet in production because we are still figuring out some kinks with the clone. But what you will have is, if you look for your specific application, and I have a lot of them here, but you can search for yours and you would click clone here. So this fulfills 2 major use cases. One is I have maybe already submitted this application. I have received a request for information, and I want to kind of keep the version that I originally sent, but I also want to change something to resubmit this, to answer the questions, to maybe change some fields. So this is our answer also to versioning. You can now clone something, keep it as it is, have a clone and modify the clone. So you have 2 versions of the same application. This is one use case. The other one is, of course, the much requested one. I have the same application going to many member states, and all the changes, for example, could be maybe the product and all the present proposed text should stay the same, or what I want to change is the MAH. And this is where we would allow, all right, you can just change everything, or we have this message, which is an important one. If you are going to clone something and you want to change the MAH because you're cloning this for a different country maybe, or you're cloning this as a contributor, so somebody just invited to see this application, he wouldn't be allowed to clone this, so he has to change the MAH. What would happen is that we cannot, because of access, clone the products with it, and we should not. So it will clone everything else. And I'm going to create here next to just see who will work on this together with me. And this is me here. I am the one that clones this. But as maybe those of you who work with this already a lot have now realized there is a little table beneath this, which was also a user request, which I wanted to show here, is I can see who has implicit access to this application already, who in my organization has a coordinator role, meaning they can see all applications. So I don't actually need to add them to this specific one. They see it already. So if I have set up my organization that all my country affiliates of my headquarters are coordinators, I don't actually have to actively share the clone with them. If I want one specific organization in one country to use this clone, I would add as a co-author the person who would then take over this application for this country. And once I'm set up here, I click next. And what it does, it goes through for everything that I have entered before. So all the products, all the scopes, all the present and proposed, and it copies it down. That's why it takes a little bit at the moment. So you can see a bit of a loading screen. We are thinking about maybe putting a progress bar so people are entertained while seeing this. But before we do this, we are actually thinking of just increasing the performance. Now, the reason why this is not live yet is because you can see the products that are cloned are not being displayed yet. What is being displayed yet and cloned is, for example, the scopes. The scope I have entered in this application is visible here. If I have procedural information, I, for example, said, all right, this is a work sharing, or this is an IG, supergrouping, line extension, my application type, that it's a DCP or a national one, my procedure number, reference member state, concerned member states, the MAH and the contact person, they will all be cloned. Now, of course, the huge request is that the proposed changes section, so precise scope for background should be cloned, and this is what we can see here. The original, I've just put in some easy phrases. And then, of course, the present and proposed of it, where unfortunately these are not yet there. I would have loved to show this now, but there was a bug last month that we are still working on, that this will be shown again. Of course, the finalization will be cloned as well. And after that, all that remains is to choose to change whatever you want. So if you were a different MAH, you wouldn't see the product. So you would go to products and then select the products that you want for this application. And what you can see here is already the nationally authorized products. This is a test load. Also, we are currently extensively testing what kind of data is pulled how from PMS. And we are quite far. That's why we hope that we are going to meet the expectations that were set here. And you can just choose the products that you want and then add them to the application and then associate the previously created present proposed text to these specific products. Now we are implementing some business rules here, but for now, that is it from the demo. So to recap, cloning the scope is already live in the production system. Cloning the entire application is not yet. The last thing that is currently being worked on, and we have presented this once in a system demo, is adding a package to an existing product, which is also going to come soonish. If you have a product here, you will be able to click here on Add Package, select which product, put in the MA number, put in the pack size, and it will get added to your list. We will demo this one, hopefully in the next system demo. I'm going to keep this short. I can see my colleagues are responding to the questions in Slido and invite you to ask more of them. So give us the chance to respond to whatever inquiries you have. But for now, I'm going to give it back to my colleagues. So thank you for this brief road to where we are and where we have been.
Thank you very much, Noel, for this very comprehensive demo. As you said, we received a lot of questions, so I would say we're perfectly on time to start with the Q&A. You still have time to send more questions or upvote the ones sent by other participants. So I'm now going to share my screen. And let's start with the most voted ones. So how will errors in the application forms being handled when caused by wrong PMS data? Is anybody from the PMS team going to address this? Marcus or Veronica, please.
Apologies, I was muted. I can take the question. So we are aware that because of the data load, some information might be resulting erroneous. So for that reason, we have explained that in case the information originates from one of the XCVMPD shared data elements with PMS, we strongly encourage the user to update the information directly into XCVMPD so this can be propagated correctly to PMS and therefore being available in PLM Portal. If instead the information doesn't come from one of the shared elements from XCVMPD, so you have no way to submit the updated information, you can open a ticket via the EMA ServiceNow service, and then by submitting the supporting information, you can request the correction. Of course, in this case, because information comes from SciAmet, we have to interface with our colleagues and make some confirmation analysis that the information is correctly is okay to be updated. So these are the way we suggest users to communicate with the agency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica.
Sorry, I just want to add, because there is something here about the Spanish and CA. We are not dealing with tickets on OMS, so that is done by OMS, and any error or any change that is rejected by OMS has nothing to do with PMS, and this the Spanish post or the GMP certificate, that is a question for OMS. What we are doing is we are creating the mappings, or well, OMS is also creating the mappings between the SciAmet record, the OMS record, and also between XCVMPD and OMS. So if there is any problem with the mappings, yes, we can support. Anything else that is related to the address or how it is registered in OMS, this has to be addressed to OMS. So just to clarify, these are different errors, and you need to try to identify. We can help you through service desk, who is the responsible team, but it's also important to make a difference between what are the different errors that can happen.
Thank you, Marcos, for clarifying. Okay, next question. Does EMA still foresee the mandatory use implementation of PLM eAF within 2024? Christina, would you like to take this for eAF?
Yeah, I'll take this. Yes, so as you've heard, we've got a great dependency from the products coming from PMS into the eAF. So of course, we need to wait for that step to happen. We are currently anticipating to be able to release the nationally authorized products in quarter one next year. But in December, we will have a kind of next update following the PI planning event to see how that work is progressing. Of course, after that, we will still need to allow some time for the users to familiarize themselves with the use of the forms for nationally authorized products, and we will need to deliver all those features and functionalities that are required for mandatory use. As I mentioned earlier when we talked about the timelines, that we are not yet able to estimate exactly how long it will take us to deliver those final important features. And also, we're not yet aware how many things we may find when we release the nationally authorized products in the forms that we haven't been able to anticipate during a testing period. So once we have released the NAPs, we will continue delivering these important features that are required. And after we feel that we have delivered all the features that and functionalities that are required for mandatory use, we will announce the UAT. Then we will need some time after the UAT to fix anything that we may find during that period of time. Again, that may take us 2 months, or it might take us some time longer, and then we will launch the 6 months transitional period, which may be extended to 9 months. We haven't fully decided that yet, but from those 2 months here, first quarter there, I think we can all make calculations that we might just be, if everything goes perfectly, we may be able to meet the before end of 24, but I would not feel comfortable saying that at this point of time. So there are many steps that will need to happen before we are in a position to announce mandatory use. So it is, in my personal view, at this point, perhaps not so likely to happen before end of next year, but I hope to be proven wrong and everything will go smoothly.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, next question. PMS is collaborating with OMS and RMS. What about SMS? As SMS substance list is being completely rebuilt, will industries have to refill all substances imported from XVMPD in the future PMS?
So no. So SMS is already feeding PMS. We have the delta, so any change that is done in SMS is also reflected or will be reflected in PMS. So there won't be any need to update PMS based on these activities that the SMS team is handling right now. So the answer is no. You won't need to remake all the things that you are doing right now while we go into production with PMS.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. I think we already addressed this one before with Christina, but in a nutshell, basically, no, we are not yet in the transition period, and Q1 2024 is basically the target for split caps and NAPS release. So I'll go to the next one. Will Global RA have access in PLM to the NAP products of all MAHs involved in the respective array procedure, despite not being active MAHs itself?
I think this depends if we're referring the product UI in PLM Portal or the eAF in the PLM Portal. From the eAF point of view, the access to the products, to nationally authorized products in the electronic application forms depends on your affiliation to, let's say, to these other MAHs. So we already know from our current SME subject matter experts on the eAF that for example, for larger companies that have multiple different sub-organizations, they will have to request affiliation through EMA Access Management System to be affiliated to the same to the main company, so that they will gain access to the forms. I believe there's a very similar model for the product UI, but I'll let the colleagues to elaborate on that.
I can complement if you want. Yes, we have developed a similar approach. In PMS, specifically, we have foreseen for industry, but also for NCAs, 3 different roles. One is the industry user, another one is industry super user, and qualified industry user. Now, if you as a company wants to grant access or revoke or have any control to the accessibility of your users, you need to request the industry super user role. These roles has been implemented in exactly for that reason, to allow you to get control on who you assign the different roles. And if you want to have access in product UI for PMS purpose to all the product information, you can request the qualified user role, which is granting you access to the whole product's information. If you want to restrict instead the accessibility to, I don't know, you have consultants or vendors, you don't want to allow them to get access to all the product data, you can assign them another role, which is called industry user role. And I think this will address your need. I'll leave you my colleagues in case Marcus wants to complement.
No, I think that is correct. No, I think that's, thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, for MRP-DCP, will the RMS and CMS be populated automatically by the system once the procedure number is entered? Same questions for the MAH details.
I can take that, or Noel, did you want to?
Yeah.
I'll let you. You're on NCA.
Well, it's probably an easy one because this is one of the reasons why, I mean, this is not the reason, but it's one of the nice side effects that we get when we use a system like product management system where we have centrally stored products. We can just, well, the user just selects, in theory, the ID of the product. And not only will we populate the MAH and the CMS and RMS countries, but we will understand what kind of authorization this product has to fill in even more data on the eAF. So this is the huge benefit, and this is where hopefully the system will be, well, easier to use than the PDF.
Thank you, Noel.
Indeed. So as a very first step, you will select the marketing authorization holder. In this case, for MRP DCP, that would be the reference marketing authorization holder. And then in a later step, when you also add the procedure number, you would just simply select the reference member state, and all the other countries will then automatically be listed as the CMSs. So it works very nicely, and it's all automated coming from the system, so it's very quickly to do that.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, next question. What methods of data entry into the PMS will be available? Manual data entry, uploading a file per product, or API to enter data directly? Will there be a delay in when some of these methods will be available?
I can take the question. So as I explained before, we have developed two ways to enter data. One is PMS product UI, the user interface, where you can enter product information, of course, manually. You need to search for your product, you can update it. Some functionality, of course, are not yet, the functionality to update information, first of all, are not available now. So there is no way to see the data or extrapolate or amend them. But it's the basis for us to start implementing the remaining functionality. The other tool is the API, so the application programming interface, the machine-to-machine connection. You can connect PMS to your RIM system and update if your RIM system has been updated according to the PMS UAG guidance, so is RGDB compatible. You can submit information as soon as this functionality will be available into PMS and then keep your data up to date. Another mean, which is something that we're working with the electronic application form, is as soon as we have all the functionality, the processes available and agreed, you can extrapolate your file message as approved from your regulatory variation or marketing authorization procedure, extract with a FIRE adapter and gesture, which is a tool that will be able to extrapolate to the information between PMS and the electronic application form. And whatever is part of the PMS data sets can be extrapolated and pushed back to a PMS via the product user interface or the API if you want. But this functionality is not yet available. It's for your information only.
Thank you, Veronica.
Pleasure.
Okay, is the date of the public system demo Q4 2023 in December already known? Yes, so it will be 19th of December, and soon it will be also announced on the EMA website, so you will find all the details publicly available. Thank you for this question. Manual updates to pharmaceutical products is a nightmare, especially when you have a lot of registered products in the EU. When do you anticipate data updates to be automatically received through FIRE APIs?
Well, not for the moment, because for the moment, what we are making available is only the read pages of the product UI and the read API access. So there is no need to allow submission of any fire messages through APIs. I also commented on this question that there is already available the possibility to submit through the gateway to XCMPD. So I can understand that it can be difficult to manage the pharmaceutical products on XCMPD in case you have a lot of them, but there's a possibility to also use a gateway to keep the information in XCMPD up to date. But for the moment, as no updates are going to be received directly in PMS from ME holders, we don't have this capability. This will be provided in the future when we allow direct submissions to PMS.
Thank you, Marcos. Could you please precise who will be allowed to participate to UAT for NAP? I guess this is referring to the eAF UAT, but I don't know, Christina.
Maybe we can both comment on that.
Exactly, yeah. Christina, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I already provided a response in writing, but indeed, so for the UAT, for the eAF, for the electronic application form in the PLM portal, we don't actually plan to have a specific user acceptance testing for nationally authorized products. There will be a user acceptance testing that will test the features and functionalities for the mandatory use. So it will, of course, have caps and naps included. And there we would hope to have as wide participation as possible so that we can ensure that the form is working for both equally well. And we know that there are much, much more NAP applications every month than there are CAP applications. So it's, of course, very important to ensure that the forms are functioning as expected. But there is no specific NAP UAT. So I'll hand over to the PMS colleagues as we should cover this aspect there too.
Shall I go or you can take it, Veronica?
No, Marcos.
Okay. So yeah, for the UATs on PMS, we are right now, as Veronica explained, we have two that will start next week. We have the product UI UAT. For the moment, it's an alpha UAT, so it's only let's say supported by the SMEs, so industry and NCA's SMEs, as well as the one for the PMS API. Once we have completed this first round of the alpha UAT, we will check if we need time to implement some changes, or if we need, if we have identified bugs or comments from the SMEs, we will implement them, and we will check if we need a beta UAT, and if needed, when this will happen. So for the moment, it's only done by the SMEs. We will check if there is anything else that we need, and in case we need to open for a beta UAT with a wider number of people to be involved, we will communicate, and you will get the news, and we will check how you can participate if needed. But for the moment, it's only available to the SMEs.
Thank you both. What if a national variation needs to be submitted for one of CMS within an MRP DCP? Will that be possible? I don't know, Noel, if you want to take this, as I think it's linked to the answer you provided before.
It is though not a PLM question. It is a procedural question. So I'm just gonna answer the PLM part. What we're doing here is we have split everything that exists into medicinal products. Though even if you have an MRP variation, it's gonna be about several medicinal products. And in the end of the procedure, ideally, well, in a future state, this specific medicinal product is going to get updated in PMS. Now, if you run a parallel procedure on this on a national level to update a medicinal product that is part of an MRP procedure, what you have is a concurrent variation. And there are systems for this that handle this, and the PLM portal will also cover this. So if you're going to try to create or update an application where a product is involved in a different application, the system will tell you, look, there has been an update on this specific product if it has happened. If both are just running at the same time, at the time that PMS will get updated, there will be a message if a conflict is available. If there is no conflict because the national variation updated different fields than the MRP variation, then an update can just be done. So all in all, just be aware we are handling all use cases and we are thinking of all the use cases that can happen if you have multiple procedures on the same product. And we are drafting solutions for this and envisioning a very neat and user-friendly way to go forward with this.
Thank you, Noel. I would say we go to the last question because I would like to save some time for a final recap and conclusions around the webinar. Are there plans to have a PLM eAF API to create the eAFs through system-to-system communication? If so, what is the time frame, relative non-binding, for it to become available to applicants?
So usually I just grab a slide. I don't have it prepared right now. So there is a kind of 6-step plan originally envisioned to get to a place where we just allow RIM systems to create the eAF directly. Now, this is still part of our goal. In order to do this, some things need to happen and some things have already happened. So this is a bit of a road where maybe half of the steps have been taken. Some things are just visible around the corner where we know validation needs to happen. So we are currently working on a way where an eAF message can be validated by anybody. So you don't need the PLM portal for it. So it can be done via API. And then there is going to be this huge exercise from everybody who uses a RIM system. They will have to map their own products to PMS. This, of course, is only available once the PMS APIs are here. But this is an exercise we will need to be doing in order to allow API communications. So when you want to do an update on a product, you need to tell us not just which product, but which part of the product are you updating, which pack size of which package. And for this, products need to get mapped. This is the exercise that not just, well, industry and NCAs will have to be doing in the future. And this will allow us to enable the API to everybody. Right now, it's just for us, just for the PLM portal that uses this API. So it exists, it's just used internally. But hopefully, once all the things are in place that we are planning for, an API can actually be the way forward.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you to all the speakers for answering the questions. Of course, we do not have time to go through all of them, but I would like to tell you that most of them have been replied in writing, so you still have the chance to look at the replies. I would like, before going to the conclusions, to launch a quick survey you can take from the Slido poll. So same QR code, same code if you join from browser. So you can tell us whether you appreciated this session, if you want more, and also you can leave us some feedback in writing. So I invite you to send us your comments. Thank you. So now, Christina, I'll hand over to you for the final conclusions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you for all the colleagues for the presentations and demos and so forth. And of course, a big thank you to all the participants for the very good questions, and thank you of your interest. This is the aim why we organize these webinars, and we hope that it has been informative and good. We will keep the Slido open, so you can still ask questions. If we didn't have time to answer your question during this session today, we will aim to answer your questions after the session. So do keep on checking back into the Slido and you'll find your answers there. And we'll, of course, as always, we'll look at the questions in Slido and our Q&A, published Q&A documents and our user guides, and reflect important questions in those documents as well. So the information is not just lost and locked into this session. And I'd like to also take an opportunity to advertise a little bit. So on the 30th of November, we will have a PLM Portal webinar coming up. So please do register for that session. So in there, of course, we will talk about the eAF and product UI and PMS, but also how all of these different products within our PLM value lifecycle management value stream link together. So this session will be taking place on the 30th of November. So it really presents this connection between these different systems. I don't know, Christina, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit more.
Oh, thank you, Christina. I think you were quite complete in presenting this. But yeah, of course, eAF and PMS will be part of this webinar together with the other products that are part of the value stream. So it will be really a good opportunity for those that are interested in product lifecycle management to understand exactly all the interconnections, interdependencies, what are the visions for these products, what will be the business value. And also we will have the opportunity to answer the most frequently asked questions from industry and networks. So we hope to see you there. The registration is already open. The event page is available from the EMA website. Then, of course, we will publish the slides, so you will also have the registration link here at hand. So I hope you see you there. And then, of course, Christina, we also have a final list of a lot of useful materials we have prepared for our users. So if you want to briefly present them, yeah.
Certainly. So, as always, I'd like to refer you to our available materials. So we have a PLM Portal guide for registration and PLM Portal guide for navigation. So these documents refer to the eAF in PLM Portal. We also have our eAF PMS joint Q&A document. And then we also have the variation form PMS frequently asked questions documents. And these are the documents that are, well, actually all of them are the documents that we regularly update. We want to make sure that new questions also that we receive during these sessions are added into these documents. So we regularly publish new versions of these. And as usual, we always have recordings of all our sessions available. So we have the Q&A clinic sessions recordings available. This session today was recorded and the recording will be published. And as usual, of course, you'll also find recordings of our system demos from the EMA website and from the PLM portal. And of course, we also have training videos of the various different features and functionalities within the form. And now, for example, the new feature presented by Noel today on the clone scope will be provided in as a part of these training videos. So you don't necessarily need to scroll through a long demo of multiple different features, but you can find a short snapshot video of how to fill in certain parts of the forms. So we will be adding some new training videos very shortly as well. I think we also have one slide on the next planned activities, just as a recap. Sorry, I messed up the order by starting my advertisement session too soon. So just to give you a very, very quick recap on what's happening next. So in December, we will be taking a decision on the target date for the split caps and naps release in the PLM portal. And once we have announced that date, you can then subsequently expect the split caps release on the PLM portal. As there is a lot smaller number of centrally authorized products, the caps will appear there sooner than the nationally authorized products. We may also, depending on the data load and if there are any issues found, we may take a decision to release the caps prior to the nationally authorized products or not. This we will find out in December. But then subsequently, the nationally authorized products will be released in the PLM portal. And of course, at that point, we will definitely update a lot of user material. We will also organize a separate session where we will do training on how to fill in the form for nationally authorized products, and also for those scenarios where you have work sharings that contain centrally authorized and nationally authorized products. And of course, there will be post-release training and Q&A sessions, just like we did following the initial centralized CAP product release. And then eventually we will follow that all up with that external UAT, as mentioned before. But there's a lot that needs to happen before we are ready for the UAT. So we will keep you updated on these timelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. We have a similar slide for PMS. I don't know, Marcus and Veronica, if you would like to briefly recap.
Sure. Just to recap on what we have been explaining so far. So the first priority for now as an activity is to launch the Alpha UAT on PMS API and Product UI. This will be launched next Monday, 13th of November. And it's a limited UAT with our SMEs in PMS and network product owner. Then we aim to publish and release the new version of the EU implementation guides for PMS, Chapter 2, Chapter 7, Chapter 9, and Access Policy on PMS. After that, while actually running in parallel, we will keep working on fixing any bugs and release the information into IRIS UAT environment to test finally and make sure that this can land properly and correctly into PLM Portal production environment. We will then announce and launch the second release of the product UI UAT. This UAT will be a public beta UAT. Beta because it's going to be open for a more broader forum of experts who would like to engage with the product UI and test the functionalities and give us feedback. And then finally, the so weighted goal for everybody, I guess, is the release of the NAPs and split of CAPS product data into PLM Portal. Of course, this is the last one because, as you can see, all the 4 activities needs to be successful before aiming this goal. We really hope we can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you to all the speakers and participants to this session. So we are now closing the webinar. As anticipated, we will publish the slides and also the recording, and we look forward for your participation to the PLM Value Stream Deep Dive webinar on the 30th of November. Thank you all.